Dan Ullman, Mike Beer taking a peek at race number 5 at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Derby Saturday. It's the Grade 2 $600,000 turf sprint. We're going 5.5 furlongs. We have an overflow field in the turf sprint. 14 in the body of the race, 3 also eligibles, and some really nice horses in here, Mike, especially the Godolphin entrant, Mischief Magic, the number 8, who ran a good second in the Shakertown at Keeneland, finishing ahead of 6 of these rivals.
Yeah, they've shipped this horse over twice so far, Dan. He's run really well both times, both going this distance, both at Keeneland, actually. He ran really well in both of those races. He's a major player in here.
In a field like this, a full field of turf sprinters, you'd expect some early speed. We take a look at our time form US pace projector, however, and no red bar. They don't think this pace will be run at a blistering speed. Coppola, the number 3. Coppola has shown that sort of speed in the past, but it's not like he's some one-way blazer. Mr. Has some speed as well, Mike. Bad Beat Brian occasionally shows some speed when he's feeling good, but again, it's not like there's a ton of pace.
Yeah, I agree. There really isn't a ton of pace. It'll be interesting to see how it all lays out early in this race. And I'm not going to, argue with the pace projector. It could certainly shake out this way. I think the 5 Moustach is a horse who could get an aggressive ride in this race. Even the 6, who is sort of mid-pack on the pace projector, that horse could be forward in this race. So we'll see how it all plays out.
We'll start things off with a horse that's never raced on the turf previously. That's the number 1, Candyman Rocket, going out for the great Bill Mott. This is a son of Candy Ride, and the Candy Rides do everything. And this dam won a couple of times on the turf, Mike, and she's a half to a stakes winner on the grass named Potamkin. I've always thought he was an okay dirt horse. You get the feeling that Bill's just kind of taking a shot here with Candyman Rocket.
Yeah, it feels like there aren't, and listen, he was a grade 3 winner sprinting on the dirt last year, but it feels like there aren't any graded stakes on the dirt that he's going to be able to win this year. And so they're going to try something different with him here and just see what happens. He's got enough turf pedigree, Dan, that I don't mind them taking the shot here. I wonder if he's going to be good enough.
Front Run the Fed is the number 2, and he's going to be one of the bigger prices on the tote board simply because his recent form just doesn't seem very good. In the Shakertown, I'm not going to hold that race against him. He did not have a very good trip at all, but with his running style, a one-run closer in a full field of horses, he's really going to need a lot of things to go his way.
He is. That's always the case with him. And so you always have to keep that in mind when you're going to bet him. But you're usually compensated for it, Dan, because he never takes that much money in these races. He'll be a big price in here once again. I don't think he was going to get anything in the Shakertown last time, but just put a line through that race. I mean, I don't know how Ray Lugulios didn't fall off in mid-stretch. This horse clipped heels and almost went down, and somehow his rider stayed on, but this horse lost all chance.
And he also had an excuse 2 starts back. That Joe Hernandez was a completely paceless affair where they ran basically 1-2 all the way around the track, so he tried to rally from out of it there. They tried 2 turns in the Seabiscuit 3 back, which probably isn't his best distance, so he's dirtied up at a big price. Front Run the Fed. Coppola is the number 3. This horse expected to be up close to the pace when the Silks run 2 starts back. And last time out in the Shakertown, he was up close to the pace. He got very tired at the end of that race. Maybe it was just simply not liking Keeneland because he loves Churchill Downs.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That I'm glad you brought that up because he didn't really run that well last time, and it felt like it could have been the move up in class that did it. I mean, his form at Gulfstream over the winter was actually really good, and so I was interested to see what he would do when they bumped him up into a grade 2 last time. And he just didn't run well. He chased the pace, and he got really tired in there. Maybe he's a horse that could rebound in here, though, at a much better price.
Motorius, the number 4, is one of the better turf sprinters in the country. Loved the way he won the Green Flash during the Del Mar Summer Meet of 2023. 5 furlong race, fell behind, just came with a run, and won that race very easily. He did not have a good trip in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint when the beaten favorite, so let's not hold that race against him. And if you don't, you're left with 3 consecutive triple-digit numbers.
Yeah, his overall turf sprint form is excellent. I mean, it's just nothing but good races, and he's not, he doesn't have a lot of speed, but he's not a one-run closer either. He's not going to be, he doesn't have to be, I should say, too far away early in these races. If the pace doesn't go, it might not compromise him that much. I'm with you, Dan. I feel like when you go back to the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, I think most of the eyes were on Big Invasion there because he got a little unlucky. This horse might have had an even worse trip. He had no shot.
I tend to agree. While Big Invasion kind of was steadied on the backstretch and in a little bit tight in upper stretch. After that, things worked out very, very well. The inside opened up. He was able to run on at the end. Matorius just got steadied and shuffled out and still then made a nice wide run into the race before flattening out. He's a major player. Moustach is next, and Moustach is a horse who's a graded stakes winner going 2 turns. Maybe Vicky Oliver's found his whole card, turning back in distance. Here's his most recent race, second level allowance, going 5.5 at Keeneland. He got right up close. He keeps on going. The third place finisher would come back and run second at this level at Churchill with a 92 buyer speed figure. He could be on or near the lead.
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty pleasing performance, first back from the layoff here. I know that they just found the right spot for him, but he tracked early. He sat right up close. He wins this race very easily when all is said and done. Maybe he's just better sprinting, Dan. He could be forward in this race. Could be another forward move coming. He's 20-1 on the morning line. I could use this horse somewhere.
The 6 Philo D'Ariana going out for Mark Cassian. Johnny Velasquez has run some explosive races in his career, 3 triple-digit buyer speed figures. I've liked what I've seen from him, whether it be on the turf or the synthetic. And last time out at Gulfstream, his first start off of a long summer layoff, he just fell so far behind going 5/8 of a mile. It's just almost impossible to make up this sort of ground, and he's running on very well to be third. The winner of this race came back to score again with a 99 buyer.
Yeah, nothing wrong with this performance off the layoff for sure. If he needed it and can move forward now, that's a big advantage for this horse, who I think is good enough to win here. I don't know what his best distance is, Dan. I don't know. Maybe he wants a little more ground than the 5.5. That worries me a little bit, but I'm not going to be surprised when he runs well.
He can be more tactical than that last race, and I
Yeah.
think Johnny V is going to make it a mission to at least stay closer to the expected moderate pace. Our Shot's a rock solid horse for a really good trainer in John Terranova. He was 4th last time out in the Shakertown, Mike. I thought it was a good effort. I think he's racing himself back into shape after a short winter vacation. This will be his 3rd start of the form cycle, and he can be counted on to make a solid run at a price.
Definitely using this horse. He should be a good price in this race. I think he is also capable of getting a better trip than he got last time, or he's just maybe a little too far back early. They tried to make this early wide run around the turn. I thought he stayed on reasonably well in that race. I thought it was a good race to set him up for this one. I think his best race gives him a real big shot in here.
Mischief Magic, the number 8, might be the best true closer in this race, but will he get enough pace to set him up? Here's his most recent start. This is the Shakertown. Of course, we remember Mischief Magic for winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint way back in 2022. Mischief Magic was outpaced in the early portion of this race. He gets to the outside. Gaffalione got him into the clear, and he's going to fire on home, again, finishing ahead of 6 of these.
He's going to make a late run into this race. He never looks like he's going to win, Dan, but he does get up for second here. He's just going to get by a couple of these horses. That's our shot right to was inside. He's going to get by him late and just be second best in this race. I thought he ran fine. We'll see what kind of trip he can pull in here. We'll see what kind of price they're offering. I don't know if I would want a super short price on this horse, but I think he's one of the horses you have to really consider in here because he's got a lot of talent.
The number 9 is Bad Beat Brian, and occasionally this horse is going to show up with some tactical speed and outrun his odds. He was 40-1 in the Shakertown at Keeneland in 2023. He just missed by a head. He was 3rd in the Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint at 11-1. When he shows speed, Mike, he's got a little bit of heart, but he's sort of been at this level many, many times before, and he finds 1 or 2 better. His last race, the Shakertown, didn't really get away to the greatest start, had to kind of rush up into the race and then understandably tire. I think he'll be tighter with that race under his girth.
Yeah, exactly. This race could maybe shake out a little bit differently too than that race, the Shakertown last time. He did some chasing in there. He got tired, but that race ultimately went to closers. This race could play a little different because I don't know that this pace will necessarily be as fast. That works to his advantage. He tends to outrun his odds, even if he doesn't win in these kinds of races. You could use him somewhere.
Big Invasion, the number 10, has been a consistently good campaigner for Christophe Clement throughout his career. He did have trouble in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. He was saving ground in mid-pack, kind of got steadied a little bit, then was in behind horses and steadied again in upper stretch. Then the rail opened up and he came with a good, strong run. And it made you look forward to see what we were going to get in his 2024 debut, the Silks run at Gulfstream. And he was pretty disappointing.
Didn't run well off the layoff last time. We'll see if he can bounce back here. Then I suspect most people are going to be forgiving of that performance and give him a chance to rebound here. I'll be honest. I've never liked this horse. All I do is bet against him, and all he does is win. Or that's how it used to be anyway. And he ran some okay races last year. But I got to admit that in the Arctic that he won, I'm not a fan of that race, and he got the job done, whatever. His Breeders' Cup was fine, but I still thought Motorius ran better than he did with a worse trip, and then he was terrible last time. I'll bet against him again, and I'll watch him win.
Here's another good Joe Sharp claim. The 11, Mr. Taken for $30,000, immediately wins 2 in a row at the fairgrounds, going 5.5, and has shown good speed. And he went a legitimate pace last time out. Sub 22 opening quarter, got a little bit of a breather, opened up at just the right time. It was a really nice ride. I think Tyler's going to be aggressive.
Yeah, got to be aggressive with him in here. They're going to move him up and take a shot. So you just got to let him run out of there and see if he can make the early lead. Joe Sharp is great with turf sprinters. He claims this horse. He goes 2 for 2 with them, and now he moves him right into a major race here. This horse is a little interesting. I wouldn't totally dismiss his chances.
The 12, Arrest Me Red, was one of the better turf sprinters in 2022. As a matter of fact, he won this race, then ran a good second in the Grade 1 Jaipur behind Casa Creed, who's one of the better turf sprinters in the country the last 3-4 years. But after winning this turf sprint in 2022, he went on a long losing streak until his most recent start at Turfway Park. Wesley Ward dropped him into allowance. He got a really good setup up close to a moderate pace, and he was just too good for those.
I mean, I guess the idea there is just to get him a confidence boost in and then move him back up in class and see what happens. He was very disappointing through most of last year, and I didn't really see excuses for his races. It just felt like he didn't really go on and get any better than he was the prior season when he actually ran some really nice races. We'll see. I mean, he's got a race or two that you can point to on the go back and say if he runs that, he wins here, and he's got tactical speed too. I'm just not thrilled with his recent form.
The 13 is Eamon, and he's kicked on for third in his last 3 races from off the pace, including in the Shakertown, a race where he was down towards the inside, and it looked like he was making a nice strong move in mid-stretch, maybe flattened out just a little bit at the end. But this is a horse, again, he needs pace and he needs a trip.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it worked out pretty well for him in the Shakertown last time, and he just wasn't quite good enough. He ran fine in there. I'm not going to knock this horse. His last, 2 or 3 races are pretty good, but I preferred other horses in this field.
Conburn's kind of a tactical horse that might be lurking under the radar for Steve Asmussen and Arad Ortiz. I thought all in all, he worked out a pretty good trip when he won the Troy 2 starts back over very soft going at Saratoga. And then last time out at Kentucky Downs, again, that's the kind of course where some horses like it, some horses don't. He's been a completely different animal since they've switched him to the turf. And he's also tactical enough where he can clear a horse like Eamon to his inside and maybe find decent position in the second or third flight.
Yeah, it's not like he ran terribly at Kentucky Downs last time either. Even if you want to give him the excuse, he didn't run a poor race there. His prior 3, those 2 Lone Star wins, they were like these eye-catching wins where you felt like, I wonder, they're going to run him in the Troy here. I wonder if he really classes up here. As it turns out, he did. I mean, that was a really soft course, so I didn't really know how much credit to give him there, Dan. But he still ran a really good race that day. I don't know. He could win here. I sort of sided with other horses, but this is a very interesting horse.
3 horses on the also eligible list. I'm really not a fan of any of the 3 if they happen to break into the body of the race. Panther Island at a price might be someone I'm a little bit interested in because he has some tactical speed and I think is better on firm going, but I'm staying away from the AEs. Any of the AEs catch your eye?
No, I mean, I'd be if the 17 sketch gets in, I'd be interested just to see what he does. The last saw him in a major Grade 1 race as a 2-year-old, but he's got a layoff to deal with here and a far outside post if he gets in.
Let's take a look at our top picks. Grade 2 turf sprint. This race could come down to trip. Motorius did not get the trip last time out, but he is a very good turf sprinter, and he's the kind of horse that can get forward if necessary.
Yeah, I think he can. I think he can get the right trip. And I'm going to take him in here. I just trust his form more than maybe some of the others in here. I think if he runs his good race, he's really tough in here. Arshot, the other horse for me. I think he's going to get overlooked a little bit. He can win here.
I think Big Invasion can bounce back. I wonder if he was really cranked up tight in his first race back at Gulfstream. I want to use your horse, Motorius. I also want to use Cogburn, the 14. I just think he's a new horse on the turf, and the price should be right. 4, 7, 8, 10 for Mike, 10, 4, 14, 8 for me. Grade 2 turf sprint at Churchill Downs on the first Saturday in May. Good luck.